Thank you everyone for being here. We've designed this as a fireside chat. We titled this Guessing at the Future of AI because if any of you know what's happening with AI or how it's gonna affect our industry, please let us know because we are guessing up here. Very happy to be here with my friend and colleague, Zaid Kahn. So like Lesia mentioned, is the Vice President of Cloud AI at Microsoft. Previously at LinkedIn, previously other places, and then also the VP of Advanced Systems Engineering at Microsoft.
Thank you very much.
The chair of our Open Compute Project board as well. Yeah, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful. So just to get us started, I would really be interested just to take us all the way back. What was your first interaction with AI? Because we've just come such a long way.
Oh, wow. That takes me back a long time. I would say in the late 90s. I was a college student. I was a research assistant. And actually, I spent the first year of my college playing more chess than going to class. So I played chess competitively. And one of the professors that used to come and play with us, he said, "What are you doing over the summer?" And I said, play more chess, do something, right? And so he said, "Well, I'm doing this research project. We're looking at this thing called neural networks. I'm looking for somebody to help, code stuff." And I was actually just an undergrad physics major at the time. Computer science was not something I was interested in. And then over the summer, I worked with him, and I started to learn how to we were trying to build this. The goal that he had was he helped us build a chess machine that could learn how to play chess, not just use brute force techniques, which was a very common thing back then. With they were building supercomputers that were trying to beat Garry Kasparov at that time. But he had a different approach. He said, "Hey, intuition is a very interesting phenomenon that he believed that." From his background in cognitive science, that machine learning, the future of machine learning is about learning how to play, as not just brute force things. So I was fascinated by that, and so I started working with him on this project, and that actually inspired me to actually switch my major to computer science. and for a while there, I thought I was gonna be in the academia track, right? But as I worked on this, and I ended up not being a summer project, it ended up being a multi-year project, right? And what I learned from that was that AI was really in the very, very early research stage. I mean, there was great research happening all over the world on it, but really from a purely academic perspective, machine power was just not there. I mean, we were doing, small amounts of training on X386s and all whatever we could get our hands on, Spark machines. And so, I always had an interest in that, and I kind of wanted to do that. So fast forward, I just decided, hey, I'm going to go solve other problems in networks, infrastructure, and all that. And then, around 2019, I started having a conversation when I was at LinkedIn, figuring out what I do next with Microsoft. But hey, we're trying to build these things. Transformers have really taken off, and what do you know? Transformers are neural networks inside, and it's just very massive. So it just I would say in almost 25, 30 years. I mean, I just went to a place that I could never imagine, and so that got me more excited as to why I am doing what I'm doing today.
Okay, let's test your memory with a couple questions dating back to your university days. What methods were you using? Like feed forward, back prop?
All back prop. It was rudimentary, man.
And what was your memory size on your X36?
I think the memory size was around maybe 16 gigs. And DRAM, right?
Wonderful. So I'm a big believer that constraint creates innovation. I'm wondering if you can give us a perspective on the current, the out of control growth of the scale of these models and really the cost of the systems. Yeah. There's some economic realities we're dealing with. But because I believe that constraint creates innovation, where do you see the opportunities?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and a tough one to kind of have a really good answer on it. But I'll tell you where sort of my thinking is on this, right? In sort of right now, there's a race that we've learned that large language models actually do great things, which I don't think many people maybe few years ago thought that, or maybe even a year ago, right? When you think about where ChatGPT has proven things, right? And so the thing is that we are at this point where we're finding that large language models are probably yielding the best results, most accurate, but it comes at a huge cost, right? It's not cheap. Tons of GPUs clusters are going to be massive. And if we're getting to the hundreds of billions of parameter to the trillion parameter models, it's going to just be translating to chips are going to get hotter, systems are going to get more packed into data centers. The problem just gets into a bigger scale of like no longer system level, now rack level, now data center level. How do you cool the whole thing? How do you keep up with the cost? What is your perf per watt, perf per dollar, that you can actually, start to rely on these kind of metrics, right? The thing is this, right? I always feel like there's efficiency around the corner. The efficiency, I think, is in the software at some point, but we're just not there because it's an arms race, right? It's just everyone's in a race, right? Yeah.
Do you ever see a point, because what's driving this is data size, right?
Right.
Do you ever see a point that as software engineers will accept that we might have to lengthen out or make our models more efficient as far as data sizing, maybe accept less data and less accuracy as a result, or do you think there are different efficiencies coming?
Well, it's what you want to do, right? Less accuracy if you want to achieve a particular result, but if you want to get to the accuracy levels that you're seeing now or where you want to be in ChatGPT, I mean, accuracy is super important, right? I mean, it is all a stochastic gradient descent that you're getting to, right? And you want to get to that curve.
That speed allows us to do that iteration, though. So if we're training quicker, inferring quicker, then we can learn quicker on the human side.
Yeah, but I think if you talk to like large language model folks, they are very insistent that it is on large language.
They're software engineers, of course they're insistent.
Yes, yeah. But like when I think about efficiency, right, I always think that look, I'm optimistic. I think that we will eventually like sparsity did not turn out where it was supposed to be, right? Like we know that you don't have to do these complex dense matrix multiplications, long term, right? Like I mean, you are storing your zeros when you shouldn't. You should be reusing them efficiently. Now there's some techniques I think people are looking at, but the sparsity I think unfortunately is just not there yet. Like nobody wants to work on removing malloc and replacing it with something else, which is for a programmer like they will do what they want, and everyone wants to work on the problem and not the infrastructure for the problem in the software side, right? But I think eventually we'll get there. I mean, we just can't scale. I mean, we talk. You've probably heard these conversations. Ridiculous amounts of power that's needed at the data center level. Where you'd have to get self-sufficient from the normal grid. All those things are all conversations happening in the industry today, right? So I think that in the next 5 years we'll probably be in that mode. But I'm optimistic that somewhere we will hit that efficiency line. The problem is we're in the curve. Is not plateaued, right? We are kind of in the middle of that curve where nobody wants to focus on efficiency, and it's too early right now. Probably if you do, sometimes it has the opposite effect, right, of what you want to achieve. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you can pull us back a little bit and just give us some perspective on this moment. Is this a normal technology iteration in our industry, or is this a true pivot moment like mobile was?
Yeah, no, this is a huge pivot moment. I mean, there's no such, I mean, this is not like I said in my opening statement, this is not a trend like, hey, we're predicting this trend will go somewhere. I mean, it's a huge pivot, right? Like I said, a year ago, many people did not know that large language models would achieve the results we're looking at, right? In where our where generative AI has come to. So I think it's a huge pivot. I think it's also like this is why we are hitting the memory wall very quickly, and because all these shifts are huge, right? Model size increases 10x every year. So that and we just can't keep up with this stuff, right? So it's going to push, like to your point about constraints. I think these constraints will push us as technologies to build things a lot faster. Like I'm chomping like when is silicon photonics going to like really come to a head on here, right? Like that's like imperative, right? Yeah.
So if I think of a couple historical analogies, when going way back, we built the railroads. We had no idea what economies we would create just by connecting different geographical societies.
Yeah.
Mobile, we had no idea about Uber and Instagram and the economies that would be created off of this. Because now you can be a content creator on one of these platforms. We didn't have the language of content creators 5, 10 years ago.
Right.
So if this is a true pivot point, I'm going to make a couple statements to keep you out of trouble. But what would you steer me away from or point me towards?
Yeah.
Do you see that we could be building the YouTube of chatbots? Do you see us being able to build the Instagram of large language outputs?
Yeah. Look, that's a great question. It's an exciting one because like I think that right now with this pivot, folks are just trying to. I'll get to absolutely answer your question, but let me get there. So basically, we're at this point where everyone's trying to figure out, okay, how do I've built this piece of software, or I've built this system, or I've built this solution, that's solving a problem for the world, but I've built it on general purpose compute. How do I build generative AI? So people are trying to figure out a way to tweak everything into their current application and say, okay, I've got an AI component to it. I think that'll happen in the very near future. But there are also people who are working ground up on an application like the next YouTube, right? And I think that we will see like around the corner. It's like, hey, I'm just going, like, there's going to be, and there are people already working on this, and this is the encouragement of like all the people in startups, right, who've got the funding and can do it. Like, hey, I'm going to go build a ground up application, on generative AI, straight up, right? Like that is I think that is the answer to sort of the next Uber or the next YouTube, right? As we sort of get there, yeah.
Okay, I just want to stay on this point and make sure the audience hears that. I think this is brilliant. So when you're peering towards the future, so you're looking at the current state saying, we as an industry are trying to figure out how to integrate large language models into our business.
Yeah.
The next generation of opportunities around the corner is to say, how do we build platforms upon this technology? Forget our current plans. Let's figure out how to reinvent the wheel going forward.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's just a normal, right? When you pivot, you've got a business you're running, and you're like saying, hey, I want to use this new technology and incorporate it. And you've got an existing customer base, you got a user base, and that's your test ground, right? So it's great that you're incorporating this, but then, even for the people that have existing, applications, they need to also start thinking about, okay, do I really invest in this technical debt and figure out how to do this, or do I go build something ground up, right? So there's all these opportunities. I think that's sort of out there, right? And whether you incorporate them into current, I mean, you see that in Instagram today, right? Like and other things. I think it was Dan Rabinovitz was showing how they were doing in Meta, right, with the current videos, and they were inserting things in there that was a response from a generative AI. So that's cool, right? That's like incorporating it. But I think there's the next like Uber-like thing out there, right? That's completely built on generative AI.
Yeah, one of the companies, Zaid and I were chatting and lead up to this, one of the companies I'm working with in my consulting work is a company called Chai Research. They have over an hour of daily usage of 500,000 people. And so this is a really fascinating kind of platform to just look at us as humans and our behavior. So in the current moment, we have TikTok, we have Instagram, and I call this like passive entertainment. We turn on our phones and we're being like passively entertained. Show me the next video, update based on what I'm spending time on. What this company, Chai Research, is finding is it's a platform. It's like they're trying to build the YouTube of chatbots. That's why I use that analogy. So they're basically allowing people like us to just build a chatbot with no knowledge of it through an application. People, they tried to build the Kim Kardashian bot. They tried to build the Kanye bot, the Trump bot, the Biden bot. They found zero engagement. Amongst the most important demographics, which are teenagers and young adults in their 20s, 0 hours spent. They tried to promote it in their application. What people are building is replicants of their best friend, replicants of their dad. And so it speaks to me that the current moment isn't enough for us as humans. Like, we're looking to connect. And I think there's a real possibility with this large language models that we're going to continue to evolve as a society.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'll definitely plug in what we're doing at Microsoft. You've heard of the Copilot and all of that, right? Like that's just if you just look at productivity, right, as a problem, or that's a problem, but like, hey, you want to make productivity better, which is what we fundamentally at Microsoft are here to do, make people's lives more productive, right? And so there's a ton of things in there that already is showing great value, right? All the way from writing code to building, your first website that can be completely generative AI driven, helping your business grow from a startup with all these, productivity tools. So, I mean, that is like that, I think, is already out there and it's great, you know. And I think all of these new applications will just pile onto that, right? It's part of that. Yeah.
One of the areas I'm most excited about, if you think of the body, we're speaking a language inside of our body of biochemistry. The health applications of large language models, it's like stunning to me. Okay, I think we are at our time. Zaid, I just want to take a moment to thank you so much. I'm so inspired by your vision for the future and your kind of perspective on the current moment. And I'm also encouraged at the future and what's going to hold for us being in such a great position in Microsoft and with OCP. So can everyone take a moment to thank Zaid for spending some time on our stage here for Future Technologies?
Thank you very much. It was awesome. Thank you. Yeah.